my first drawing of the whole trip, which actually was about a third of the way into the trip, but this was finally when things slowed down enough that I felt like I could draw. And this was on our last day on the island Ischia. And this was from memory because the port isn't in Forio, that's on the other side of the island, but I put some lemon trees. I love that there was a harbor, and so I knew that I wanted to include some sailboats in there. And then there was this walkway that had a bunch of little plants that was just beautiful, and I loved it. So I wanted to make sure that I captured kind of the essence of Forio before we moved on from the island. It was also my first time doing pen and ink, and I'm not that great at doing pen and ink, so the fact that most of these turned out really well is honestly really surprising, and I'm really thrilled that they turned out as well as they did, especially this one considering it was from memory. I wasn't looking at anything specifically. But yeah, first attempt was really good, and I'm just kind of like learning the medium and getting used to things. This is what I was talking about, where we were sitting waiting for our ferry in the port area, and this is what I was looking at, and there was a bench that I was sitting on, which then looked out over this little walkway that had really cute dining, a really cute dining strip, cool buildings. There was a really cool reflection on everything, so I figured I would just make myself do it, get all the uncomfortableness out of the way, and just try my best and get to sketching and capturing. So this was an Ischia port. Yeah, overall I'm pretty pleased. I mean, there's definitely room to improve, but each of these was about 5 to 10 minutes long, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. So while we were in Ischia port, we were there for quite a while. We got there a little bit early, so we decided to go get lunch and some food. And this is one of my favorite desserts out of the whole trip. It's called a delizia al limone, which is just a lemon cake. And they come in this domed shape, and they have like a lemon glaze, and there's cake and custard. And though this doesn't necessarily look like much because it's really hard to draw a glazed dome, I did want to commemorate it and just try because I loved it so much. So here we have the Ischia lemon cake and my best attempt at doing the little dome and candied lemon on top, and it was so unbelievably delicious that yeah, I needed to capture it. Then in the entire Naples and Amalfi Coast area, lemon sorbet is one of the most popular things. So what you see on Instagram and all the pretty things of the lemon that's carved out and then has sorbetto put in it. Though I never actually bought one because I felt like they were only at really touristy places, and I ended up searching out really high quality gelato and sorbetto places. It is quintessential to the area, and I did eat my body weight in lemon sorbet. So I wanted to kind of draw the touristy, very easy to identify version of it. I like this one too because of how much white I left. Like, I like that I didn't go too dark with it. Okay, bear with me. This one does not look all that great, but it was of one of my favorite nights out of the whole trip because so when we were in Sorrento, which is again in part of the Bay of Naples, and our hotel had a $1 million view. It was like a 2-star cheap hotel, but $1 million view. Our window was like an infinity pool where it was so on the edge that you basically like hung over the bay. It was insane and so cool. And one night we like hear all this booming and we're like, what is going on? And we look out, so this is our view. We look out and there was a bunch of fireworks going off. So what had happened was it was a celebration of like fishermen, and it was to honor like or bring safety and luck to fishermen for the rest of the year. And so there was a massive fireworks show over the water, and there was a bunch of boats that showed up, and it was so cool to just be a part of all of this, let alone have such a cool view where we were able to see all the boats and all the people that just lined the bay. It felt cool being able to share it with all of those people, and at the end, like, the entire bay just lit up with cheers and excitement, and it was really, really cute, really special. Even though this is probably my least favorite drawing out of them all. Like, I went too dark. This was at night, and so I like tried to convey that, but I don't know that I did all that well. But like, I tried to do the dark water with a reflection, the dark hills, the moon, night sky. I did my best, but regardless, it is still one of my favorite nights of the trip. So in order to redeem myself, I decided to do a drawing of our view from daylight. So this is Sorrento morning. Again, it's the same hill. You can see the boats that are out there. In the hillside is where part of like the town is built. There was a little boardwalk with a whole bunch of umbrellas and a swimming beach, and it was just such a special view that, again, after going too dark with that last one, I just wanted to try a daytime one and really do our view justice. So this was our view from our hotel room, and it was more than magnificent. So from Sorrento, we made our way to Rome, which obviously I have to draw some of the most iconic monuments. We have been to Rome before, and it is one of my favorite places on earth. So it meant a lot to be able to capture this trip in an artistic form as well. It's something that I'm working on. This was my first time traveling with art supplies, so I wanted to make sure I kept it really easy, really quick, so that I could kind of break the seal and just start incorporating art into my travel. I'd love to be able to go travel with my oil paints and do it that way, but this was a really good start, and I love this composition. I mean, the Colosseum is just so impressive. Everything about it is impressive, and I don't know, I feel like this drawing turned out great. I love the balance of like the dark and what I kept light. I honestly feel like I did a really good job on this one, which artistically makes me really happy, and I just love the Colosseum anyways, so it was really cool. I feel like from this moment on, I was starting to kind of get a hang of the feel of pen and ink, and I'm really happy with it. And then we have probably one of my favorite buildings in all of Rome, and that is the Pantheon. I don't know what it is about it, but it's forever one of my absolute favorite buildings. I think it's gorgeous. It gives me all the feels every time I'm there, and it feels really special to be around it. So again, Rome, Pantheon, and I just did a quick, I think this one took me maybe 7-10 minutes to jot down. I was really focusing on making sure that I got the depth perception right. So you saw that the back like moved back, but overall, one of my favorite buildings. And I was trying to balance the detail and then the feeling of the building, and I think honestly it did a pretty good job of that. There's not too much detail. You get the impression of detail, but it's not overwhelming. So this drawing is called Trastevere, which is a region of Rome, and it's quite a foodie district. It's kind of a young district. It's also gorgeous. The streets are so quintessential Italy, where they're all cobblestone, they're covered in vines, and so I tried my best to capture that in the best way possible. I don't think I completely nailed it. There are some things that I did a good job. There's other things I wish I had done differently, but for the most part, you get the sense of Trastevere. There's a whole bunch of vines. There's a cobblestone. I wish I kept things a little bit lighter so that you could see all the plants that I had put here, but they kind of get lost in the drawing. I think I got a little heavy-handed with things, but nevertheless, Trastevere is a beautiful part of Rome, and I wanted to capture that. And of course, since we were in the food district, one of the best things in the entire world is pizza margherita, which is the classic traditional pizza, and it's one of my favorites. It's probably one of my go-tos every time you go to a new pizza place. I get that first just to get an idea and a comparison, but I wanted to honor the pizza in a drawing because it's one of the best things. It's one of the best inventions ever. One of my favorite foods, and they just do it so phenomenally that it deserved its own page. They don't typically put whole tomatoes on the pizza. It's just tomato sauce, mozzarella, and basil. But I did feel like artistically that was the right decision, just to make it a little bit more dynamic. But I love this drawing. I love the balance of dark and blank space. It has depth, it has feel, it's not too busy, it's not too dark. I really think I did a good job on this painting, and compositionally it just looks really cool. So this one was an absolute win for me, and I love it, and I'm glad because margherita pizza deserves nothing less than an absolute win. One of the Italian classics, I decided to go for the Italian breakfast to pair with the pizza. And that is a cornetto with a cappuccino. A cornetto is not the same as a croissant, though it's the same shape. Croissant tends to have more butter and more flake and layers. Cornettos actually are more of a brioche dough, so they do tend to be a bit drier. Sometimes they come with a jelly fill or a cream fill, and you dunk them in your cappuccino, and it is delicious. And I love that the Italians are unafraid to start their morning with sugar. I find that glorious. So here's a beautiful spread for the wonderful Italian breakfast. I also like this one, how I kept things pretty, like there's a lot of blank space. I tend to like those more. I like the shadows. I think I did a pretty good job on this one. So good job. In Rome, of course, you have the things like the Via Borghese and all these really cool kind of garden-y areas, and so I decided to do a spread of Italian villa where I picked a little bit of a pond, like an indoor pond with all the beautiful architecture and plants, and I just kind of wanted to capture the beauty of some of those like royal villas. And again, I think I did a really good job. I really felt like I was kind of figuring out my balance and what I liked with pen, and that is keeping dark things dark, but overall keeping it pretty white. And yeah, I think this one is beautiful and did the villas justice. So I'm very pleased with how this one turned out. Of course, it wouldn't be drawings of Rome if we didn't include the Trevi Fountain. This one was quite difficult, but really rewarding. It was a challenge to keep the right details in. It's an incredibly detailed piece of sculptural art, and so being able to convey the detail but also not go to extreme was very difficult, but I think I actually did a pretty good job. I like how I kept this all dark so that the statue really stood out. I didn't go too crazy with details, I just kind of alluded to it, but the Trevi Fountain is beautiful and an absolutely wonderful piece of art, so I was really glad that I got to draw it. And part of me thinks I got a little heavy-handed with it, but I can't be too bad at myself because it was a good attempt and a challenging piece. So here we were wandering the streets of Rome, just kind of experiencing the whole thing, getting lost, going wherever we wanted. And of course you're going to come across some beautiful streets and cafes, and just everything is basically a piece of art. And so I wanted to take a moment and really capture the beauty of Italian streets. So we have Cafe Ristorante, which was just a generic cafe that was on the corner, and I love this drawing. Again, good balance of dark with blank space. It really draws your attention in. You can still see the details of everything I wanted, and I'm really happy with this one. I really like it. So to end this trip, there were definitely some opportunities that I missed when it came to drawing a spread, and so I kind of backtracked a little bit and just wanted to make sure that I captured some other things that I loved, because this was a scene in Florio. It was probably one of my favorite scenes, and I titled it Italian Life because it was just so beautifully Italian. This was a beautiful, like rusted orange color building with green vines that just radiated. They popped off of this building. And this was like a dark green border. Of course, there's a Vespa and cobblestones, and there was no way I could ignore the perfection of this whole scene. This was on the building, believe it or not. It was just a little part, like wooden thing. I don't even know really what it was, but again, this was just too perfect. Way too perfect not to capture. So I wanted to make sure that I got this. I kind of feel like going back, I maybe could have darkened this a little bit more to allude to this all being in shadow and this was light. But, you know, you live and you learn. And I think I did a pretty good job for a free sketch in 5-10 minutes. So, and the last one was of another quintessential. I wanted to capture moments in Italy. The same thing kind of happened with my photography while I was there, is that I started to really want to capture people and the essence of the place, and so this one's called Italian Streets. Before I get into the story, I do think on an artistic level, I got too dark with this, but you live and you learn. I did still protect some light areas, but I do think I went a little dark. I wish I kept it a little bit lighter just to make it kind of read a little bit easier, but overall still a pretty darn good job. But we have a little motorcycle rider through a street with a stop sign, and of course the beautiful brick inset doors and street lamps and shutters, and I fit as much Italian things as I could in here with vines and just all the brick stuff, and late afternoon with the light coming in. And I do have to say, I really love this drawing. I think compositionally I love it more, but yeah, that was the last one that I had time to do, and then it was time to go. But okay, that's it for this video. I had such a blast making all of these. This was actually the first time I've ever done artwork when traveling. Usually I only exclusively do photography and video, but this was so much fun. And I did it in ink, which anyone who knows me knows ink and I are not cool. We have never gotten along. In fact, I have destroyed more things by trying to do ink than I have ever had it successfully work out. So the fact that these actually turned out pretty cool and they're in ink blows my mind. So maybe if anything from this video, the thing to get from it is to go try the art supply that you've been fighting with or that you've been wanting to try. Maybe the trick is to do it in a way take yourself out of your routine. Maybe that's the trick, is to get out of your normal routine and then try it, because then your mind's free. But either way, go try the art supply that you've been waiting to try or fighting with. Just go play, have fun with it. I did, and I am so happy. I am blown away that they actually turned out okay, and I love them. They're so cute. It taught me a lot. I had a lot of fun, and it was wonderful bringing an art supply with me. I'm really grateful for the opportunity to be able to go travel and then make these sketches. So on that note, I am thinking that I might either do a postcard set or a print set off of these. The print set would be a set of 3. And they'd be probably around 8x10 with a border around it. The postcard set would probably be all of them, and then the artwork would be on one side, the postcard would be on the back side. So let me know. Do you think this is a good idea? Should I do either of those? In the comments, let me know. Should I do this? Which one would you prefer? Postcards or print set? I think they'd be cute as either. Maybe I could do both. But let's pick one for now. Let's just see. I'm curious which one, if any, if you think it's a good idea in the first place. And as always, thank you so much for joining, and I can't wait to see you in the next one.